want this off. This is probably the most exciting meeting of the year, so I just want you to be on guard for that.
Don't blink.
Don't blink. Okay, I think we have a call to order, please.
Okay. Director Slater Carter.
Present.
Director Boyd.
Here.
Director Wilson.
Here.
Director Harvey.
Here.
Director Huber.
Here.
Okay, President's statement, real brief. Our council is ill tonight, and because of that, we will not be going into closed session because of the agendized with conference with legal counsel. I think we have a meeting in 2 weeks, correct?
A regular scheduled meeting is in 2 weeks,
Okay.
so we can,
I think our goal should be is that we should re-agendize that for 2 weeks. Is Dave's health and such that this is temporary, do you know?
I'll check in tomorrow.
Okay, so assuming he's temporary illness tonight, then we'll
Well, if not, you could reschedule Christine.
right.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think to her point, either one would be probably appropriate, so I agree with that. Okay, so we will not be going to closed session tonight, and I don't have anything else to report. Do we have any oral comments on items that are not on the agenda tonight? Hearing none? You do? You've got to jump a little faster.
I'm not sure, but if this is appropriate or not.
We'll tell you.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, guys, I'm waiting. Can't go with the rest later. I'm Marcia Yates, and I am a member of Resist Density. And there are a couple things I'm totally new at this. So I was listening to the. Oh. I was listening to the July 6th meeting about rate setting, and then I was here a couple weeks ago when they went over the Alta, but Vista Wellness.
Yes.
And one of the things Resist Density is interested in is the infrastructure, especially the sewage infrastructure, on how if the Cypress Point housing complex gets approved and goes forward, how is that sewage the SAM stuff going to be dealt with? It's kind of the chicken before the egg, or egg before the chicken, with regard to the money of getting the sewage and the water. So that was just something that we're very interested in. And I have some literature here that I'd like to hand out to the members. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I think just, if I understand your concern, for both water and sewer, there's adequate capacity to take on additional development, and then, in terms of how some new participant pays for their participation in either the water or sewer system, both require permits with fees that account for what we kind of call a buy-in to the cost of the infrastructure that's already in place.
Right, but there's been a lot of spillage from.
Yeah, but that's not about the capacity. You know, that's about the maintenance of the system. And I'll just put in an editorial comment that if we can convince Half Moon Bay that it's actually in their interest to participate in the joint powers agreement in terms of maintaining the kinds of things that are leading to the spills, we're going to be in a whole lot better shape. But the underlying issue around capacity of the system to collect the wastewater, to transmit it to the plant, and to deal with it at the plant, all of those components have adequate capacity for a certain amount of growth. And that's as anticipated in the local coastal program, and as we've been working. When we build our system, it's in conformance with the LCP and designed to meet but not exceed what the LCP allows.
So for when they if they do Cypress Point, and they're going to put in perhaps 60 units instead of the projected 40 units, because low-income housing, they get a certain amount of extra houses.
So a couple things
So it
really
makes it a
important,
little
a couple things
faster.
real important here. We're not the body that's gonna approve the project. And if the county goes ahead and approves the project, it will not be an issue of capacity, it'll be an issue of exactly what has been mentioned here by Scott, so.
Excuse me, there's a difference between capacity and condition.
Yes.
And one of the problems that Montara and Sam is discussing is sewer laterals. And and those are, no quiz, but the pipe that connects the house to the sewer main. And there are many various ages of sewer laterals and conditions. On some of the older houses, they were made out of Orangeburg pipe, which was wax-coated cardboard. This was in the 30s and 40s, I believe, when metal was at a premium because of World War II. And needless to say, those are kind of worn out. And so what happens is when there's water in the ground, it just goes to an open point and it goes into our sewer mains. One of the things that Montara and other agencies are looking at is whether we can put in a sewer lateral inspection program or not, and under what conditions. We were talking to a fellow from, I think it was Lafayette, Scott and I went to a workshop one time. They had actually seen laterals made out of, wine bottles, cut off at both ends and sort of taped together.
It's kind of a gravity feed, they're
Right.
just trying to channel things to one place, but they weren't concerned about keeping water out from heavy rains and stuff.
So during the wet weather, which is when most of our spills occur, that's because of the lateral kinds of conditions. Montara has been very aggressive in replacing our mains and fixing our mains. When construction costs were low and we were redoing mains, we actually did several streets way ahead of schedule because we could fit it into the budget. The sewer laterals are a whole nother problem, and so, you know, at one time years ago, we were looking to see how we could reduce our wet weather flows, and we looked at our manholes, and many of them had holes in them, so that they could be removed easily because they're very heavy. But when it was raining and water was running down the street, this was in it. So we've replaced those, many of those with solid. But it's all these little kinds of things. So there's a difference between capacity, which is what the pipes are sized for, and condition, which is whether there's holes or not. And as Scott said, one of the issues is that Halfland Bay for the last almost 10 years, maybe more, has taken the position that they are not responsible for the condition of the section of the SAM system that runs from Montara to the SAM plant.
So how do we take care of the condition, so it's in better condition?
Well, what we do, and what we have been doing, we've gotten them to do some limited participation. We've done some projects. There are more to do. But right now, we're in a situation this year where we had some pretty big spills because a good chunk of a section of that line started to rot out. We had a pretty big spill, a very big, unacceptable spill. And so we're not, right now, it's a good time. We're very focused on repairing not just that section, but some adjacent sections, which also are in pretty bad shape. So this year, we're gonna get some of that stuff done. That's already in, we put out for bids, the design work's already been done. So these kind of things, plus, you know, over the past 2-3 years, we've convinced them to help out and participate in certain projects. So it's just, you know, it's getting blood from a turnip or a stone or whatever that metaphor is. But we're still at it, and they've got us in court right now saying they don't need to do it. You know, the court may clarify this for us. So one way or another, we'll get some resolution on it, but we remain dedicated to the proposition that we all benefit from this. We all have to take care of it. And we're certainly, I think if you look at the record, Montara has a pretty good record to stand on in terms of making sure that we do everything that we can. We teamed up with Granada at one point because they refused. And we put in 220,000 gallons of, it's kind of a holding tank for when we get all the rainwater. Right, we have one here, and this one, Half Moon Bay helped with. The one that we did in Granada, they didn't help with, but Granada and Montara, we put our heads together, we got it done. We came in under budget, we came in under schedule. That thing is beautiful, it uses no power at all, it's completely passive.
And you can't see it.
And if you talk to the team that operates the sewer infrastructure, especially during the big storms, they call it a godsend. It's given them what they need to keep bad things from happening where you just get overflows just because you're so inundated. The leaks we had weren't bad. The leaks we had was because we had some pipe that had rotted out. It's a different problem.
Okay, I'm gonna pull this back to.
Let me make one quick comment, please, and that is, many of the spills that you have in your document are lateral spills and things like that. So those are relatively small and not necessarily the cause of big spills. The other is Regional Water Quality Control Board has decided to look at all the spills, I think, for the last 10 years. And so they may be fining us huge amounts of dollars, not us only, but us, the SAD members, to fix these things. So it's going to be happening, one way or the other.
Okay, I think I'm gonna move this along.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your thoughts and your questions.
On the consent agenda, we have 9 items. One is to approve the financial statements for August 2017. One is to approve the warrants for October 1, 2017. 3 is the SAM flow report for August 2017. 4 is the monthly review of the current investment portfolio. 5 is the connection permit applications received. 6 is the monthly water collection report for August 2017. 7 is the rain report, interesting. 8 is the solar energy report, and 9 is the monthly public agency retirement service report for July 2017. Is there any of these items that you wish to pull from the consent agenda? Hearing none, can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, 5-0. All right, we have one item of business tonight, and that is to review and possible action concerning review of ecology audit for 2018 solid waste rate increase. Clemens, you are on.
All right, thanks, Dwight. So, actually, at the last meeting, this board adopted the amendment to the existing contract, which means that we're moving forward with Recology for another 10 years. So every year around this time, we are actually getting we're getting a request from Recology, according to the contract, on a rate increase. Actually, last year we got a surprise with a rate decrease. So from 2016 to 2017, we reduced the rates by almost 4%. And this year, Recology requests a 3.52% rate increase for the calendar year 2018. And they provided the required financial information that is spelled out in the agreement. And we asked our accountant, Mason Associated, as every year to essentially apply procedures to identify any mistakes and look at the documents, calculations, and try to get us more comfortable with what Recology is showing. Want to point out that now the calculation for a 32-gallon cart customer, that's the majority of the ratepayers in the district, is still 5 cents less per month than they were paying in 2016. So we're currently working on a Prop 218 notice to be sent to all property owners in the district, and we're planning for a public hearing to consider the adoption of the rate increase at the December 7, 2017 meeting. The rate increase, again, should be in place by January 1. And Recology, by the way, is offered to take care of the required mailing for the Prop 218 process. We have Peter here with Mays Associates, who can tell us a little bit about what the review was and what you guys saw, and then ultimately we're going to ask to authorize the initiation of the required Prop 218 process.
I'll keep this relatively brief. We've been doing, performing these tests for the last, I believe, 4 years now. And really what we do is we take the worksheet that is provided to us by Recology, Chris and her staff, and we really just work through all of the various tabs and using their source documents that have been provided, many of which being the BLS increases from year to year, just apply tests to make sure that there are no major deviations in the logic of the formulas that are in place. We applied these procedures once again this year and did not find any deviations.
Questions from anybody?
So I want to mention for the camera that, of course, Chris is here, Chris Porter with Recology, like with every item that is up for Recology. So if there are any questions, she's available as well.
Any questions from the board?
Did you notice any changes that you found? Do you do that first? Do you do this for other agencies?
Yes, we do similar AUP. In terminology speaking, the staff report refers to this as an audit. This is not an audit. An audit would take would delve a little bit deeper and use sample-based procedures to actually look into these source documents on a deeper level. We do not do that. We really just work through the worksheet and apply the factors that were provided and just make sure that it, from a reasonable standpoint, that it falls in line with our expectations from the past, as well as what the agreement states is the way the methodology is to calculate an increase or a decrease.
I think the question was, is this similar to other entities that
And
you do?
that was the second part of the question. Is this, did you see any changes that were out of line with other agencies that you do this for?
No.
That was a good answer.
Any other questions or comments? You need a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved 5-0. Thank you, Peter. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
thank you.
Can I say one thing?
You may.
Very quick?
There was a discussion by one of the board regarding an audit. The Recology provides a certified public audit to the district on a yearly basis. And it's always received right at the end of the year. Our fiscal year closes off on on September 30th. So we always have it into the board before the end of the calendar year. So that is done year.
That's the audit you all done. Who does your audit?
Proper.
Was it?
Proper.
So,
So you looked at it?
so the title turns out to be correct because it says review of Recology audits. So, okay.
And
So you looked at
Peter's,
the-
Peter's company also, when we provided the documents, they also asked for about 6 or 7 additional documents to back up numbers that and documents that we had given. So it was a thorough vetting. Thanks, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have, the rest of the night, we have basically reports.
We can take a long.
I know you
Did
can,
I
but
sign it?
try to manage that if you could, please. So we'll start
I
with
think so.
Sam, with Scott, and
No.
Catherine.
All right, let's see, the simple stuff first. The November 27th and December 25th SAM meetings have been canceled due to the proximity to holidays. That's good. We also authorized participation in the RCD, the Resource Conservation District's annual First Flush. This is a really important program that just got started just on a shoestring years ago. And it's first big rain, people go and collect water samples and measure contamination in the creeks, because the first big rain washes out a bunch of junk. And it's a good way to keep an eye on the health of our riparian and watercourse areas. And they do some really fine work, and Sam has been participating in that for some time. Individually, various members, directors, staff members of the various member agencies over the years have helped out and do some every year. It's funny, the next big thing was that we, because of all of the interesting things going on this year with the spill and with the extra legal work that we've had to do in response to the Half Moon Bay filing, we've gone through most of what we had put in place for a legal budget for the coming, not just this year, but the coming 2 years. And so we managed to work out an arrangement where Half Moon Bay agreed to go with us and increase that by the amount requested. We had to kind of carve it out so that it would be sectioned off, so it wouldn't be in direct support of anything in terms of a defense against Half Moon Bay's claims. But I think we got some general agreement that Sam has to do some things for procuring documents and anticipation for depositions and the other kind of things that just are going to happen even if Sam is not in an adversarial position. So we got agreement, so we've got some budget now, so our attorney can keep doing the work to help make sure that Sam's operating with good counsel. That was important.
I would also point out that Scott sort of massaged it to make it go through, and it was very useful.
Well, thank you, guys. That was not just my effort. There were others involved, and it's a team effort, and we've got a good team result, and it's all good.
I will note, however, and I suggest everyone watch the SAM board meeting, as I did, that you asked the question, let me see. Sam is being sued. Sam has interests distinct from Montara and Granada because it's a different agency, different interests, because it's a joint powers agency. And yet Half Moon Bay is not funding its defense, the defense of Sam. And that's something I'm very, very concerned about. Hopefully we can get an answer to how that can happen at our next meeting. I've had people ask me what can be done about it, because as Marcia Yates was saying, that it is a major part of the infrastructure that they have decided years and years ago that they don't have to fix, even though their name is on the contract. And so they are continuing, and I will editorialize here, but they are continuing to try and bully and force their way through this lawsuit. And I'm not sure that, I think that Montara and Granada are taking the high road, and I think that's a very good thing. But at some point, Sam is going to have to take care of its own interests. We've had 5 spills this last year. We've had a number of spills over the last 10 years, and the fines are going to be up there, and Half Moon Bay is doing what it can to wiggle out of its share of the fines. So Montara and Granada will get stuck paying for Sam for, if Half Moon Bay has its way, for hundreds of thousands, if not up to $1 million worth of fines for the last several years for the spills, and the repair of the pipeline, and all the associated costs for funding and staffing this. I am concerned, and so for folks who are watching this, if you have any ideas on ways we can maybe, other kinds of solutions, I'd love to hear them. None of us is as good as all of us in our thinking, and I know there's a lot of folks in our community who, are very smart and have some good ideas. But, Half Moon Bay's position on this is, we're not gonna pay for it, and you can't make us.
I think we got a little ground with them in this agreement to increase the funding for the law firm. If you're not aware, when they filed the lawsuit, it happened right before we were to approve the sewer authority budget. And so we were left in a situation where they weren't gonna vote to approve, and even though Montara and Granada had voted to approve, you gotta have all three, or nobody knows where the money's gonna come from. And Sam's staff was very concerned about this, and what wound up happening was that the Sam attorney got all the other attorneys together, he put together a proposal that we, in fact, did actually execute on, which was a stipulation that we're gonna treat the budget as if it had been approved, so we can pay the bills, and Sam's staff and all the rest of us can stop worrying. Montara and Granada were gonna be paying our parts anyway, but this got all three agencies to agree we're gonna pay. Well, we wouldn't have arrived at that agreement, I mean, I don't know that we would have, without the incentive, the initiative of the Sam attorney. Well, we ain't doing that for free, so, hey, Half Moon Bay, we got that funding crisis dealt with in a really deliberate and yet kind of unemotional kind of way. And we're back to making sure that we're keeping the agency operating. And, the lawsuit can do what the lawsuit's gonna do, but we shouldn't be disrupting the operation of SAM. Well, that was our attorney at SAM who initiated that. And everybody participated, but that brought value to everybody. Because, in some respects, he served as a peacemaker. And I want to acknowledge that was money well spent, because it got us through that crisis. We could be at a point right now, had we not done that, where Sam had no operating capital. And going into the rainy season, that'd be a really stupid place to be. But we're not at that place. So Half Moon Bay kind of had to see that, yeah, there's some advantage in paying for the sanitary. Even though it was lawsuit related, it wasn't the kind of thing that they're worried about. They don't want him undermining their case, but that didn't. And it was, so we're gonna kind of feel our way through this thing. I agree with you wholeheartedly that their position is, in opposition to 40 years of practice, 40 years of participation, what the contract says. You never know what happens when you get in front of a judge, but we feel, their position is not very keen with them.
Some good news is that Half Moon Bay asked for a change of venue to Sacramento. Their attorney is from Grass Valley, just a little east and north of Sacramento. It was ruled on, and the change of venue will be to Santa Clara. So for those of us who want to go and attend the meeting, it will be much easier, or the meeting, the trial, if it gets to that, it will be, and hear the arguments, it will be much closer and much easier to attend.
So in other matters, I think to close out the SAM report, we approved a clarification of the purchasing policy, and we cleaned up a bit the resolution on the order of business for regular board meetings. That was mostly just for removing a bunch of redundant language, so this covered also.
And the next meeting is Monday.
Yes.
Thank you. Mid-Coast Council?
Because council had another meeting on, the, 71 unit mid-pen affordable housing in Moss Beach. So folks can watch it on the MCC And, one way or the other, it's important for you to send your opinion to the county and probably coastal commission at the same time, so that there's lots of public opinion on this. There is also a 50-space RV park proposed at the northwest corner of Capistrano and Highway 1. That's if you're coming into Capistrano, to the stoplight there, you look to your right and you see the hotel, well, what you will see if this goes in is 50 RVs. It is in the county and it's got arguments both pro and con.
That's an RV park?
RV park. And the question is whether it's being proposed by Pete Nierhan. He also runs the RV park at the harbor, just to the south side there in Half Moon Bay, at the north end of Half Moon Bay by Sam's. But there's a whole lot of people who are there permanently, including some who are registered to vote using that address. So the question becomes, are these 50 units going to be affordable housing? And maybe that would be a better place for affordable housing than Moss Beach.
So
Just asking.
Capistrano is across from the Ritz, right? It's
No, it's in El Granada.
Oh, Granada, okay, I'm sorry.
Right. The stoplight in El Granada, the first one,
Okay, yeah.
where the sushi place is,
Yeah.
on the left, this would be on the right, as you turn into the harbor.
It's right adjacent to the parking lot where Messalina Cafe is.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's right open
It used to be
space.
one of, I think,
Yeah, cafe, you're right.
Well, they put the circus from time to time.
Yeah.
So the existing RV park, Pillar Ridge Mobile, or not Pillar Ridge Mobile Home Park, but I think it's called Pillar Ridge RV Park.
Pelican?
Pillar Ridge, I think it's RV park.
Yeah.
No, it's mobile home park.
No. The one for motorhomes.
It's a more, it's.
Oh, the one.
I think it's actually called Pillar Ridge.
Yeah, I think
Pillar,
you're right.
Pillar Ridge is a manufactured home community.
No, but I think that's also
I'm
called
getting that
Pillar
off the
Ridge
website,
RV.
so I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
but what he's talking about is you're right about that, but I think what you're talking about are those mobile homes that sit right up against Sam,
It's right adjacent to the beach house.
right against the
Right,
beach house.
right.
And
That's,
it's
Okay.
that's an RV park that's on
Well, it's
Harbor
not-
District owned land.
It's really not
Okay.
an RV park, but go ahead.
Okay, well, it is an RV park from the standpoint,
It's a
but it's,
campground.
but it's for, okay, so that RV park had, you're saying that it does not allow for permanent as the contract with the Harbor District, between Keaton Airhan and the Harbor District?
It's a little more complicated because it's actually in the city of Half Moon Bay.
That's right. So
Okay.
it's Harbor District, City of Half Moon Bay, and Keat Nierhan, and then Coastal is involved as well.
Okay,
Wow.
so what prevents him from doing long-term rentals there?
Nothing. There may be some,
Legally.
there may be some legal language, but people have brought it up and nothing's been done. The City of Half Moon Bay is not willing to.
His biggest thing is that he went in there without a permit. And so the Harbor District, and he had that relation for a long time, and the city of Half Moon did enforce the requirements of a permit within the coastal zone, and that's where the battle is going.
Yep.
And to your point, it's probably not stipulated in the contract with him, what,
I
how it
think,
is.
I haven't read it, but I have been told it was. Always better to check source documents, however,
Yeah,
as we're discovering with the Sam dispute.
exactly.
But I also would agree with your assessment. I know for a fact that there's one person who's been there for many years
Yeah,
in the northeast corner of that.
yeah.
That's not where you took your spill, was it?
No, Dwight, that's not where I took the spill.
I just wondered if you were slammed into that same unit, that's all I was.
Ouch.
No, but I walk my dog through there, so.
Just running this meeting.
I know, but. All right, CSDA report.
Oh, wait, so there is open comment to still time available for that RV park, proposed RV park?
Yes, please.
And that-
Again, you and everyone, please
And
send letters.
that's to be sent to the Mid-Coast Community Council?
I would send it to the planning department
Okay, San Mateo County.
and to the coastal commission.
Yeah,
It's been my experience that, there are many young staff people at the county, and sometimes filing is not such a great priority, so it's better to send your
And are they,
comments there.
and are they required to do a SQL process in that?
You know, I don't know what the zoning is, probably.
Yeah,
But my guess is it will require a coastal development permit as well, and that's the equivalent of CEQA.
yeah.
You know, if you've been watching, we talked about, you know, your project and housing. If you've been watching Airport Road over the last 6 months, you're seeing a proliferation of
RVs.
RVs lining the road. They've probably gone from 2 to like 10 or 12 or 13.
Yep.
And I was talking to someone who's in the homeless community, and there's apparently people that actually buy these RV homes and then they actually rent them out. It's kind of like slumlords. So it's interesting, and if you've watched these RV homes, there's been a proliferation of them on Airport Road. There's now a couple sitting on the east side of the highway next to the market. And I think we're gonna have another issue on our hands is, you know, with this housing issue, people are gonna house wherever. And we're seeing that on the coast side now. So I'm hoping down the road as we look at our housing and we look at people who are trying to figure out how to house it, just to get bare housing, this housing crisis is now really starting to inundate our coast side. Airport Road is just a beautiful example of that.
And I would agree, I rode my bicycle past there this morning, it's obvious that people
Oh,
are living in those
there's no
RVs.
question.
Oh, yeah, there's been about 3 opposite Mezzaluna Restaurant
Yeah, there's 3
for
there.
a couple months.
Yeah,
And there's probably, like repeating, there's probably 10 to 15 of them sitting on Airport Road. And they're in the last, what'd you say, last 6 months they've proliferated?
yeah, they
That's
have,
been my observation.
yeah.
As has the traffic along there.
There also from time to time is that they're parked on that cutoff going from Mezzaluna over to Route 1.
Yeah,
Along there's several of them also.
Yeah, so something to think about as we try to tackle this challenging issue.
that's it.
Okay, anything on the CSDA report?
Well, let me see, yeah, it was, a couple things. It was a very interesting meeting Tuesday night, it's been the first one in a while. The next one will be in February. The first thing that happened was when Rick Loman left Granada Sanitary District, or, I'm sorry, Granada Community Services District. Shame on me. He left a vacancy for the SAM alternate member. And CSDA sent out a note to all the districts for nominations. And only one person applied, Katie Martin, and so she was selected. And she is on the mosquito abatement district. She lives in Half Moon Bay and is very interested in LAFCO. I think she will be a good alternate. Other than that, there was a report on a growing trend to, through the Voting Rights Act, both California and federal, to require not only countywide districts, but the Board of Supervisors, but cities and special districts to divide up into district elections. And the fellow from Sequoia Healthcare District said there's no fighting it. If you get the letter from the attorneys, you may as well just hire a demographer and divide up into your districts. I don't know how small they have, CSDA is looking into this.
I know the Sequoia Healthcare District's having a public hearing on that very issue in about 2 weeks.
Right, they got the letter, and they just looked into it, they talked to attorneys and CSDA and so on, and they just said there's no point in fighting it, we'll lose anyway. So that's what other districts might be needing to look at too. I attended the CSDA conference in Monterey last week. stuff. And it was, huge, actually. I think they had 600 attendees. They had a whole lot of, vendors, and they had a whole lot of very useful workshops. I was shocked and amazed after talking to an attorney who was there, to realize, somehow it had slipped my consciousness that board members have to take the, harassment workshops too. And, there was some very interesting information given on the one I attended. In particular about social media and how you need to have social media policies for your district in writing and available for everyone. This is something that is relatively new compared to special districts. And the training was very, very well done. There were workshops on finance and just an amazing selection of workshops. It was hard to go to 3 at the same time period. I actually had to pick one. The other thing that was very interesting was the attendees. I talked to the mayor of Compton, who is on the mosquito abatement, or the vector control, and she was saying that Compton the city council had made a decision that they wanted nothing to do with marijuana distribution or growing in their district. And a thoughtful businessman had circulated a petition, or a businesswoman had circulated a petition, and so now it's going to be on the ballot. And there were workshops on marijuana, marijuana in special districts, but I talked to the vendor who was there, and they were unaware of the demands that marijuana will put on sewer systems, particularly treatment, and on water supply, because it's a high water use product. Someone also mentioned that it has a real problem with odor, and so when they're cutting it and so on, the surrounding area can suffer from those problems. So those were a few of the workshops, and it was a very good conference. The next one will be in Palm Desert. So the conference itself has grown from maybe a couple hundred people now up to a huge cross-section across California. There's people from the proposed state of Jefferson, that would be the Shasta area, all the way down to the Orange County and San Diego. So you get to see a huge spectrum from little teeny cemetery districts that are run by just a few people. The board members mow the lawns, put the sprinklers on and off, and to the huge water districts and sewer districts. Interesting stuff going on in California.
Thank you.
Attorney's report, Dave's not here. Director's report, anybody? General manager report?
Yes, actually, I spent this week at the Groundwater Resources Association, and we heard at the last meeting a little update on the research that we're doing about our aquifer that is essentially accessed to that we're accessing through the Alta Vista well. And we presented a little bit what we're doing there in terms of ensuring that we understand the aquifer better. We make sure that there is that the aquifer is replenished, for example. Now, one would think that this is standard practice in California or worldwide, and that is unfortunately in California a very new realization thing to do. Since a little over 5 years, we have the statewide groundwater monitoring program in place, and which means that all 118 basins in California need to be monitored. We actually have now a further step with Sigma, where agencies can turn into groundwater management agencies. That is not necessarily here a topic because we're in a low priority basin, but to the rest of California. And through these new developments, we're actually getting new information, a lot of essentially well-level data mainly, and that is compared to what is pumped. And what we now know for sure is that California is pumping way more groundwater than is replenished, and the discrepancy is incredibly high. So there's groundwater mining happening on a large scale in California, meaning, quite frankly, that most agencies are not managing their supply sustainably. And interestingly enough, now the hydrologists are focusing on how to resolve this problem, and that problem can only be resolved by thousands of projects putting water back into the ground. And so we're now seeing a complete different trend in the agriculture, for example, back to flood irrigation. So now being advised to rip out all the drip irrigation systems that we paid for through grants and other means, and go back to flood irrigation, and allow standing water to seep into the ground.
So what you're saying is that the flood irrigation that was practiced for years and years helped to maintain the groundwater basins. And by going to drip irrigation, it was like a huge, expensive experiment. We discovered that
the depletion rate is
the
even
depletion rate
greater.
is greater than it was expected to be.
That's-
I have to tell you, I've heard for decades about falling ground level in Silicon Valley because
Yes.
of groundwater. And I'm talking 30 more years.
Yes. So I've seen some very interesting research. For example, how does the water really penetrate into the ground? And so short rain events that are less than 24 hours really don't contribute to the groundwater. That is all captured in the top level. Really, it doesn't penetrate. It's all evapotranspiration ultimately over the next days. So one really needs a snowpack or standing water for groundwater to replenish, or longer lasting rain events.
There is, when Balance Hydrologics did a study of the groundwater characteristics in El Granada, this was a long time ago, there was a fascinating map. There's a stock pond up high, and they mapped the area of influence of groundwater recharge for that stock pond. And it was amazing how much influence it had in the wells and so on, the individual wells in Granada. And if that were removed, what a negative impact that would have.
Right.
And so our stock ponds probably, the ponds, the irrigation ponds up at the north end of the Brussels sprouts field here are probably contributing to flushing out the pollutants.
Yes, yes. So when we see real good work that's been done that's actually relevant here, for example, I mean, with flood irrigation, the next problem is, of course, you're pushing all the nitrates into the groundwater. So But that's what they're really looking at. How does it look like, and how do you best dilute an aquifer, and how do you prevent the nitrates from entering? And, I mean, there's some good work done, so,
So all of that
Different
terrible
types of-
rice farming up in the upper Sacramento Valley that people were complaining about wasting water was really a major contributor.
apparently, yes.
But how does it take into account evaporation? In other words, they flood it, and yeah, it percolates into the ground, but the vast majority of it evaporates.
Yes, but otherwise it would run down the river. And you know, see the ocean ultimately.
Yeah.
And with that, you know, now if we're flooding everything and now prevent the water to continue down the river, of course, we're gonna see impacts to the fisheries. There's also some interesting work that shows how some species of fish are drawn to fresh water entering
for
the ocean
estuary,
for their spawning, halibut, for example. So I think we're gonna, you know, it's gonna take a decade or so before we have to worry about depleting groundwater to the extent that, you know, it affects the fisheries, for example.
But part of it has to do with the source of the water. So I mean, the water's coming off a river and you're flooding, that's one thing, but if you're pumping it from the groundwater and you're using 5 times as much to flood versus the spraying system, I mean, you have to determine where the water's coming from, I would think in part.
Right.
So, I
Right.
mean, if you're using flooding in Fresno, when you're pulling it from wells, I would assume that doesn't work.
Yes, no, it has to be surface water, of course.
So we're
that
talking
you
about
used.
surface water,
Yeah.
either from
Yes, the-
essentially snow water.
Yes,
But the giant dams then up in the mountains may be recharging our groundwater basins. I was just down in the Fresno area yesterday, actually, and I saw these big signs, you know, which is more important, food or
yes. but-
rail systems,
but-
and it was interesting that there were these political signs asking for more dams.
Well, the giant dams happen to be in the granitic areas that are well cleaned through the glaciers that went through, so they're very sealed off on the bottom. They're not really
Oh, they're not,
the infiltration ponds that we'd like to see
gotcha.
in the lower elevations, yeah.
Oh, lots to learn.
Oh, thank you. Anything else?
Great,
That's it, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, let's spend a little time on future agendas. Clemens, if I understand correctly, the first Thursday in November, you're not here.
That's right.
So we will not have a meeting the first Thursday in November. And we have a scheduled meeting in 2 weeks, correct?
Yes,
And that's what, the 19th of October, the day the 5th?
yes.
So what items are you anticipating in 2 weeks?
We're gonna have 1 or 2 sewer items up. We might start a project on the sewer side. There are some sewer items
The
that we need
reason
to
I'm
deal with.
asking is we were going to allocate approximately a couple hours tonight for closed session.
Yes,
And let's assume we have closed session as we were anticipating tonight. What do you think? Can we do the business between 7:30 and 11, or should we think about changing our time for that meeting on the 18th or the 19th? This is actually for all of us.
I think we can maybe take a straw poll if this is a possibility to move the meeting to 6:30. Is that the idea?
I'm leaning, because I'd like us to be able to do the closed session with the time that we allocated, which is approximately 2 hours.
Yes,
And then probably allow us another 2 hours to do business, plus or minus. So, anyway, I'm looking at, Scott, I'm gonna look at you and I, because
Yeah.
we both work.
So we're talking about November 16th?
We're talking October 19th, 2 weeks from tonight.
It would be nice if we do that, to be able
Oh.
to have sandwiches or something.
No, well, we can handle that. We can
Yes.
be-
So you're proposing 6:30 start?
Yes. That's what I'm proposing.
That's fine.
And I think we should do this earlier than later. I'd hate to wait a month for the
Yeah,
closed
no,
session.
I agree.
That's
I
right.
agree. Yes.
Okay, so we're in agreement that we will start our meeting at 6:30 on the 19th
Yes,
and anticipate that we'll have 2 hours of close.
and then at 8:30, we have open session.
Well, we can do a couple things. We can, yes, I think that's what we should do. I would rather do closed session first, and we can report anything out. And then we'll start our open session at 8:30 plus or minus, and we should
Or
report
then
it.
it has to be a special meeting.
Yes,
So if we,
It's okay.
because
It's
regular
okay.
start time, regular meetings have to start at the regular time that's in the
Then it'll
ordinance.
be a special meeting. Let's just do it that way.
Okay. Or we could wrap it around an hour from, hour and back.
We could, but I'm a little worried about I mean, we're gonna have both our legal and our engineering support at the same time, so I think in difference to their time,
yes.
I don't see any downside for doing.
No, we
this.
just gotta make sure to notice it as special, because
Yes.
maybe we should put something large and visible out front.
Yes, I mean, the big change is open session at 8:30.
Right.
That's really what we have to message.
Okay.
And then Dwight, there'll be no meeting for the first Thursday of November.
Correct,
And then there'll be a meeting the second
Thursday,
Mhm.
the
whatever that is.
Which is the 16th.
16th of November.
Right.
Yes,
And then in December,
There will be the meeting on the first,
the 7th.
7th.
the 7th, and then,
The 21st will be probably optional. Okay, I just wanted everyone to be on the same page on that one.
Thank you.
And I think, unless there's anything else, I think we need a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn the meeting.
So,
All,
Aye.
no opposition on that one. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.